Welcome to Happy Homes and Gardens. I'm your host. My name is Daphne Royse. I am a real estate broker, architecture, and interior designer. Self-talk helps transfer negative emotions into positive ones so that people can live filled with purpose, clarity, and peace in mind. It's AI-driven and based on psychology, coaching, behavioral science, and neuroscience. Let's welcome Viorica Vanica, who is the co-founder of Selftalk.space, to share some insights.
Thank you. This is a pleasure of mine to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. I love it.
Please tell us who you are and what Self.space does.
Okay. My name is Vio. People full name is Viorica, but people call me Vio because it's easier. I'm a co-founder of Selftalk. Selftalk is it's like Spotify for self-therapy. Just imagine listening to audios of what a therapist would say about a specific negative emotion that we feel, and change that negative emotion towards a positive emotion that we want. So these audios are based on the negative emotion we feel and the positive emotion that we want instead. I'm also an author. I wrote a book on dysfunctional thinking patterns because I wanted people to understand that self-talk is not just the positive affirmation, but it's more like the way we deeply see ourselves inside. So that's why this book was published. And I have a background in accountability coach. I previously co-founded another startup which failed. It was meant to help people become accountable to work on the specific things that they needed. It worked well in COVID, but then it didn't work.
What year did you publish your book?
It was last year. Yeah, we worked for, I would say, like people people ask me how long did you write the book? I would say it took me years actually to write that book, because the stories that are in the book, it's out of the life, but also it's combined with the science and the science and the tools that we applied in, because I wrote it with my co-founder. So it's a combination of the stories and the science from our own lives, and that took us years to actually do it. But to write it, it took maybe like a few months. We published it last year.
What inspired you to start Selftalk.space?
That's a good question. My co-founder actually came with the idea. She was back in London. She was doing like a hypnotherapy license, and in hypnotherapy session, what a hypnotherapist does is like to take you as a client. Let's say you come with a specific problem with finances or like in relationships. So it takes you back in with that hypnotherapy session, takes you back to a specific specific events in your life that actually brought you to where you are today, like defining events. And after that, after the session is done, then they create like sort of an audio to reprogram the mind. So this is how she came up with the idea of part of this being part of this course. But I joined at that time when we were talking, and what was happening in my life. I was going through a lot of internal change in my life. I'd say I was going through a training on ontology, which completely changed the way I see myself and the way I see people around me. And I wanted to bring that to people too, because it leads back to how we think about ourselves and then people, and how we behave and how we interact with others based on our self-image, but not only self-image, it's more like the beliefs that we hold about ourselves. And that's how we got together, and we are on this mission to change 1 billion lives.
Let's talk about emotions. What is an emotional setback?
That's a good, imagine like a road. This is the road of feelings, emotions in our life. A bump in that road, that's an emotional setback. It's like an event, let's say, put in a simple words. It's more like a event or a context or a situation that actually triggers a negative emotions in us. That's an emotional setback in a nutshell, I would say. I don't personally categorize that negative emotions are bad and the positive emotions are good. Like I don't see the difference. I don't categorize them like this. I'd rather see emotions like signs or like signs that there is something for us to look into ourselves. I will just give you an example. Let's say anger, for example. The emotion of anger appears when we overstep our boundaries, or maybe someone overstepped our boundaries. And the healthy anger appears is like, oh, someone overstepped it. My natural reaction is back off, and then it disappears, it dissipates. If you go through the entire process, but if the anger persists, that means that there is more into that anger. It's unprocessed anger, and usually behind anger there is a lot of other emotions which are harder to actually to express, and people get stuck in the anger because it's just easier to process. But if we sit with the anger and we actually dig in depth, like if we dig deeper behind the anger, we will find the helplessness, or we will find the loss, and we will find different emotions that are actually harder to process, and people are not aware, like not aware, but they're not really guided. They don't know that this exists, and they are stuck in the anger part. They didn't learn that how to contain or to process the anger. And just this comes back to the emotional setback. So yeah, an emotional setback is whenever you are triggered, whenever you feel the negative emotion inside yourself, either frustration, anger, or disappointment, or any other emotion, negative emotion that we feel.
Like you mentioned earlier, if they don't even know they have that negative emotion in them, how will they know they need to find help?
Well, usually in a real life, that happens to like where you can see it, like if you look at it from a side and you look at someone who experiences a negative emotion, usually it's a conflict there. It's a problem. There is I don't know, clash between two people where like there is, because if there is no negative emotion, there is everything is joy, and like there are no conflicts there. If there are conflicts, if there are struggles, if there are like challenges, that means that there is something to dig into.
Okay. Who will be most benefit from self-talk?
That's we actually, because we launched in December, and after that we launched, we're doing this customer interviews with our users, and my goal was to find out exactly what people take, why they come to the app, like why they come and use it, because people come and use it, and I wanted to understand in their words, in their mind, what they actually take from it. And who benefits from it is um, people who have like self-criticism, or like they have negative emotions that they know how to process, or people that they have struggles in relationships, either with in a love relationship, or let's say with parents, or with their kids, let's say, I don't know, trying to say, I don't know, to say something to your kids and then riposte back or something. It's any kind of challenges that you have that causes you to feel a negative emotion is for that kind of a person. Also is for people who have anxiety attacks or burnout.
What happens if they not reach out for help?
That's the problem, because a lot of people don't. And the app has that goal, actually, to reach the people that don't really reach for help. Because therapy is expensive. And from my experience, because another kind of a persona of our app is people who have tried therapy or are into therapy, but they find it very hard to open up to a therapist, or it's hard for them to find the right therapist because they tried a few and they just quit at some point. And that's what our goal was, actually, to prove this app to not be instead of a therapist. You can still have a therapist, but more like to give an option to you to have to do this self therapy by yourself, wherever you are, 24/7, doesn't matter. You have a specific challenge, then you are able to find out and dig into it and have this self introspection guided audio that helps you understand the root cause of the challenge that you face through the emotional. So we start with the emotion, but the audio guides you to understand the root cause of it. So which is usually a thinking pattern or the behavior, or it's much more into it, because every emotion is treated differently.
Let's talk about your app. What is the most helpful tool for users?
I think from what we have, it's the experience of actually listening to something that because what it happens in the app when you come, let's say the whole experience is like this. You come and you open the app, you choose the life area where you have this negative emotion. Let's say it's a relationship with yourself, or a love relationship, or with kids, or with friends, or coworkers, and then you choose the negative emotion you feel, and then you choose the positive emotion you want to feel instead of that. And based on this, also you choose the voice. There is no at the moment AI involved in the content. It was created by the real therapists, and nothing is how would I say it, automated by the machine learning or something. We are still working on that part, but right now everything what is in the app was created by the real people. And what it does, like the most feature of it, is actually I would say, from the words of our users, they sit at night when you like the lights are off, everyone is sleeping, you're by yourself, and you finally get this chance to reflect over the setbacks during the day, or the things that happen, where you just like can listen to your thoughts, like what happened. And this audio, it actually, when you listen it at night before going to bed, which most of our users do, is like a self-reflection over your day. What was what were the highest and the lower moments? And we treat the lower moments. Why did you have treat the lower moments, which is um, the specific different kind of challenges, but it comes back to the emotion that you felt or reacted in a specific way.
And your therapy is either behavioral science or neuroscience based. Why is breaking old habits such an important thing for success?
Oh, oh, um, wow, okay. Um, in the app, we tried to, so my personal goal when we were working on this app was to find therapists that have different backgrounds. Someone was specialized in cognitive behavioral therapy, someone in a commitment, acceptance commitment therapy, someone in integrative therapy. We also worked with coaches, which have like a more holistic approach to a person. And the goal was actually to have like a bigger perspective over what it means to be a human being, not just to address the behavior part, but to address these parts: thoughts, which means the way we deeply see ourselves; emotions; and behaviors, which is like sees a person as a whole. And we wanted to address people who to work with people who are professionals, but also with people who are not really certified in a specific way, but they have results. They have results with their people, like the clients that they work. So that was the interesting part of it. Now, coming back to what you asked with the old habits, breaking old habits because for the success, I would talk about one specific habit, which is talking to ourselves badly, or criticizing ourselves, or just give an example: someone who sees himself, let's say, deep inside that he's naive, then when he gets situations where he's manipulated, where he confirms again that he is naive, that's a habit of that he has been repeating all his life, just that I'm naive, and I'm completely confirming this by attracting people in my life which will I don't know, take advantage of me or something. And I'm saying about this habit which is unconscious. The person who deeply sees himself, so let's say himself deep inside, that he's naive, he doesn't even know that, but he acts accordingly. And by what I mean by acting accordingly, it's that he will be super precautious or skeptic. So the idea is that it's like when you see yourself deep inside, you usually adopt a behavior that covers that, that will show to people that, or like will try not to show to people how you deeply see yourself inside. So why is this important to break this habit? It's so important because just imagine someone who, let's say, thinks about herself or himself that is ugly. If you keep on repeating to that person, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, like, you know, these positive affirmations, this won't work. It won't work because if the person deeply sees inside that is ugly, then nothing outside can change what's inside. You can change only from inside what's outside. And it's important to change this break, like these thinking patterns that we have about ourselves. It will change completely the way we interact with people. And I've seen that in our app. I've seen that with working with people myself. I've seen that while working with these therapists and coaches, which actually, my life before I did this work was like, I feel like I was a Nokia before, and after I feel like I am an iPhone, something like that.
I heard this talk somewhere on the radio once. Well, we have a strength and weakness. If you work on your weakness, they are already probably average or below average. If you work hard on it, you can bring up maybe to 60, 70%. But if you work on your best quality of yourself, you can improve that maybe 80% to 99%. Is that true for you?
I agree with that. And I agree with I will go back to find first what are those things that you're good at, because you might not even know that. And then I would not even say to not pay attention to your weaknesses. Those are also like spots for you to understand better yourself. But I would double down on the things that you are good at. Let's say connection. If this brings, and how you would know that this actually you are good at. Um, just like I would say like a personal thing to understand. Whenever you do that activity, you are filled with energy. It's like you have so much energy that you can do, I don't know, you can do that forever, or like you can do 24/7. That's kind of activities that recharge you, and they come back to the soft skills that you have, which actually make you do those actions. Let's say that if you are a connector type of a person, you connect people, you are in the middle of people, you like to be around them, then that has to be one of the things that has to occupy most of your time. Of course, take pauses and just to change and things like that. But first, I would say identify things that recharge you and then double down on that. I do agree with this.
Okay. Can I give you another example? Just curious.
Yes.
With my curiosity. So for example, bad habits. If someone's on diet, but they're eating a bag of potato chips every day, if they want to switch off to carrot or celery sticks, it's very hard because it doesn't taste the same. So how do you switch from bag of potato chips to something healthy?
That's a good question. Now I'm thinking, it's the meaning that you put over that chips and the association that you have over that chips. Because you might learn like from like neuroscientists or like from the nutritions that like it's good to for you to eat the carrot or something. But if that carrot doesn't give you the same association as the chips does, you will still prefer the chips. It's the sensation that you associate with tasting that chips or the meaning that you put over it, which has to be changed. That's one thing that I would go. Another is I would go and understand when you actually do it. Do you go for the chips when you feel stressed? You feel that you want to cover something inside, and it just like it keeps you, like occupied and not go and dig into like the feeling. That's also another thing that I would go to understand when you exactly choose the chips and rather the carrot, and not say like, okay, the chips is the bad and carrot is worse. I would rather go and see when do you have this habit, when it's triggered, and then dig into that.
Tell us how many different type of products that you provide.
We do, that's it. Okay, so we have the app, which is, it's on Amazon, well, Amazon, it's an Apple Store and Google Play. But on this journey of like building the MVP, because MVP is minimal viable product, which is the app that we have right now. We did like a lot of testing, and at some point someone like an HR of a team of like 50 people, they came to us and they asked us to make like can you help us to do like a well-being program for our team, because they were looking for something to make their team more resilient, because it was very high performance environment with a lot of stress, and then they wanted to improve that environment into their team. So here is when our idea actually came, because it was from a need that we thought, okay, we can do that too. So what we offer is B2B2C, which is the mobile app for end consumer, but we also have an offer for the companies. And this offer for the companies is specialized on the specific problems that the team has. Either let's say it's communication skills, or let's say it's performance, or dealing with stress. So we have like I would say, because right now the app does these audios, but we will have in April launching the self-therapy journeys on specific problems, let's say anger management. And that can be like for a few days. Still, you'll do it by yourself, but that's like encouraging you to deal with the anger on a longer term. So we're going to have the self-therapy journeys on specific emotion or specific problems that teams have in the teams. Like either like a conflicts communication, or like triggered by a colleague or something. And that's one of the things that we offer, these self therapies to the companies. We also offer workshops on the mental health to the companies, and this comes back again to the problem is personalized on the problem that they have, either that they don't feel that they don't belong, or let's say it's performance issue, or it's that we want them to produce more with less time, or we want them to take responsibility, ownership, or be more empathic. Depends on the goal of the owner of the team. And then based on that, we created these workshops, which goes into depth, understanding the root cause, but also causing the new habits or installing the new habits. So it's a combination of these two.
For the result in possibly benefit at work, like you mentioned earlier, how much time you need to transfer from negative to positive?
Yeah, like you mean the someone team comes with a problem, and how long is it gonna take to solve that problem?
Yes,
Or
I don't know. You're looking for individual at work. You are using it the group at work.
yeah, that's we do both. So through these self-therapy journeys, every individual has the access to them, so they can, let's say, because maybe someone has a problem at home, let's say divorce. I was talking with someone at the conference. They were saying like one of their employees was going through divorce. He was absent a half of a year from work. So if we can actually help that person to go through divorce and understand what's happening in the divorce and process those emotions, he will be more present at work. So that's really dependent on the problems, specific problems that every individual in the team has. So that's one thing with the self-therapy journeys. And then with the workshops, it's more like a group up to 10 people, or like depends on how big of the team is. Where we also in this workshop is a framework where we we go in depth with the examples of the individuals, because that's the best way for them to learn from the examples of other people sharing. So that's one of the things. But how would I say it? Like, I wanted just to mention something. If I would have answered this question 3 or 4 years ago, I would say it would have taken a long time. But now I'm not, I don't have that opinion anymore, because I saw on from my personal life that it can be changed, that just an insight or an aha moment or understanding like the root cause of a specific behavior that you have can change the behavior instantly, because you realize why you behave like that, and why, with what is actually linked with something in the childhood, an event, what happened there, and then the person connects with that like sort of a trauma, and then just like gets out of it through a specific framework. It's not just like it's a guided framework, so that you get out of it, because yeah, people don't know how to do it by themselves.
Understand now. And do you have any success story to share?
Well, I wanted to share something, I guess, from our early stage work, because we're working on this idea since 2021, and 2022 we didn't have any app or something. We we launched, like, we thought we had just the idea, and then we were doing these audios, because that's how we started. We manually we would have like a type form where people would share their negative thoughts about themselves, negative emotions they have about themselves in a specific problem. Let's say relationships with women. We did these audios for 100 people. So 100 people, they shared with us like the most sincere thoughts that they have about themselves, and then they were receiving these audios personalized on their thoughts and emotions, and the reactions that people got was just insane for me, honestly. Like, the reactions were, they were crying, they were going to talk back to with their parents after like years of not talking to them, and that gave me so much of I would say energy that we are on the right path. This is something needed, that people actually, that actually changes something in them. So I would say the success the success was building something without building something. So it was even before we had the app. That was our first success, I would say. And I really love when people come back and say, look, I thought that I'm controlled by emotions. Whenever I feel angry or something, I just feel that emotions take over, and I lose my rational side. I take bad decisions, and then I regret about it. And then after using your app, it helps me calm down. It helps me just sit with the emotion, understand that, and not uh, or I don't know, blame it on others, or just burst this anger or the emotions that we have on others. So this is so rewarding. I'm just like, I honestly love it. It gives me energy to wake up at night and work.
That's great. That's great. It works, right?
Yes, it does.
Where is your website and how can people contact you?
Our website is Selftalk.space. The app On the website they can find the links to download on Apple and Google Play. It's online.
And you have a link to talk to someone at Self.space?
Yes, on the website, when you when you just type in self-talk.space, just immediately there are two buttons: download on Apple Store or Google Play. The app is free at the moment, so I really encourage people to go and dig into it, and just try it. Especially, I will advise to try it when you actually feel that negative emotion, and just just go with the flow of the app.
Thank you so much, Will. That was very informative information about behavior, about the emotions. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for this opportunity. It was really nice to talk about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right.